I would say that there are two central charges that you would make against this government. And the first charge is that the government has had no time to solve the major economic problems facing the nation, because it has been obsessed with working through a laundry list of issues that are important to the vested interests that put the government in its place. And what I mean is the government is more interested in what is important to the CFMEU or the big super funds than it is about what matters to people, which is why it has failed on housing, which is why it has failed on inflation. And the other central charge you'd have to make at this point in time is also that the government has significant integrity issues, in that the people that are sitting at the apex of this government have incurred integrity issues and trust issues because of the way they have chosen to conduct themselves in high public office. And you only have to go back to 2022 and the election campaign to see that the promises made to the Australian people by this government were that it would be easier and cheaper under this government, and that has not been the case. And you don't need a politician to tell you that. Everyone knows that. But the point of consequence here is that the Treasurer, Mr Chalmers, has started to blame everyone for the woes that the government finds itself in. High inflation, low growth, we're in a pretty bad situation. And instead of being honest and upfront about what the government can do, because what the government can do is it can run a fiscal policy or can run an economic policy which is going to help business, help small business, help families, but instead he has taken aim at the major institutions that have nothing to do with the capacity of Mr Chalmers himself to do his job. And so every day you see him attacking the Reserve Bank or the Productivity Commission. The most recent salvo against the Reserve Bank was that it was smashing the economy. And the point I think Mr Chalmers was trying to make is that the Reserve Bank had interest rates too high. Now, the reason the Reserve Bank has interest rates too high is because the government has not stopped spending since it won office. And if you look at the proportion of the inflation that is in the economy today, a large proportion of that is because of public sector spending. And the jobs figures that we see, most employment growth now in Australia is happening in the public sector. More people are working for the government than ever before, and that is a rude shock to the average small business person who gets out of bed every day and works hard. It's not fair. And the integrity issues that I mentioned before, which are now accumulating for the government, include the making of false claims to the Senate, which was aired in the newspapers on the weekend, where we find that Mr Chalmers has failed to comply with an order for production of documents because he filed a public interest immunity claim. And in that claim, the Treasurer says that the disclosure of certain information in relation to the CBUS super fund would be contrary to the public interest because it would disclose commercial and confidential information. But because of the existence of freedom of information laws, we don't just rely upon the orders of production of documents in the Senate. We also are able to access documents through FOI. And the Information Commissioner found that the Treasurer had no case to cover up this file which he had received from CBUS, and last month the Information Commissioner ordered it be released. Last week that file was released, and it revealed that there had been a secret lobbying campaign from the CBUS super fund to Mr Chalmers, not about anything commercial in confidence, but about a special deal that the fund wanted so it could cover up the stamp duty costs in its member disclosures. So it seems very strange that the Treasurer would spend time and capital making false claims in a public interest immunity order, but it is perhaps not surprising given the amount of integrity issues that this government is accumulating alongside its failure to address the key economic issues of the day.